Thank you, Archit. Okay, let's just begin. Am I audible, folks?
Yep.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you. Thank you. So, good afternoon and very warm welcome to the panel discussion today. And today we are at day 2 of our analytics virtual conference, first of its kind for us. And the topic for today's discussion would be, intervention of AI ML on emerging tech in business transformation. So where do we see this going, and what's the vision? So our panels today are are accomplished senior professionals and thought leaders in their own right, and have been driving digital transformation in their businesses. And it's my pleasure to introduce them. Let me begin with Sunanda Ramakrishnan. Sunanda is a director of supply chain digital strategy and delivery at Philip Morris International, based out of Lausanne, Switzerland. Her responsibilities include creating a roadmap for analytics for all functions within supply chain, and that kind of that is conjunct with creating the team and capabilities to implement and scale digital solutions with speed. And she's also looking at doing something very interesting. I mean, she's leading the transformation of tobacco leaf buying and planning function through digital solutions. And of course, she's involved with team creation and upskilling. Prior to Philip Morris, Sunanda spent 6+ years at Unilever. Her last role was that of an IT director, procurement platform, wherein her role entailed partnering, design, delivery, and support of all IT applications to support Unilever procurement function. And she has partnered 30 billion euros businesses for all IT requirements. And in the course of her role there, she worked closely with procurement organization to create a digital vision, and which also include planning for capabilities such as AI and automation. Sunanda has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and an MS in information systems from University of Cincinnati. Welcome, Sunanda. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Mario Rodriguez. Mario is a global director of logistic transformation, responsible for driving digital transformation of logistic function in InBev 6 zones. Mario hails from Colombia. He has been living in Bangalore for the last 20 years, and he's been in lockdown since February. that's longer duration than us. Mario is an electronic engineer who graduated from Pontificia Universidad Javeriana in Bogota, Colombia, and has an MBA from Inalde Business School. He has been working abroad for more than 8 years and has vast experience driving IT organizations. He's experienced in leading high-performing multicultural teams across geographies in Americas and now in Asia. Previously, he was a CIO of Cerveceria Hondurena in San Pedro Sula, Honduras, and CIO of Cerveceria Nacional in Guayaquil, Ecuador. So his portfolio has included business intelligence, data management, and he began his stint with Anheuser-Busch as a data management director based out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he's been a global director for solution architecture and Bangalore Delivery Center. He's currently, as I said, he's currently based out of Bangalore. Mario has successfully led transformation of app and web operations in Honduras and Ecuador, leveraging technology. In North America, he led the implementation of business intelligence and analytic platforms to help top-line growth. And now he's leading the digital transformation of logistic function in app and web globally, leveraging AI and ML to speed up the benefits of the transformation across zones. Welcome, Mario.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Now I'll introduce Anubhav Singh. Anubhav is a senior director supply chain at Unilever based out of London, United Kingdom. Anubhav has close to 2 decades of experience with Unilever and has covered the entire gamut of supply chain. He has a formidable reputation as a supply chain professional and is recognized and is a recognized thought leader in supply chain transformation, inclusive of digital transformation. He's currently working on providing real-time visibility of analytics in supply chain. Anubhav has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from NIT Allahabad and an MBA from IIM Lucknow. Welcome, Anubhav. Then we have Archi Bagchi. You're welcome. Archi is a founder of Thoucentric. He's a seasoned professional with experience in program management and operations management with global giants like GE and HP. In the course of his stints with GE, it was about 5+ years, and HP about 9 years, he realized while interacting with business stakeholders that there's a considerable gap between functional and technological aspects inherent in running of a business. And that's how the idea behind Thoucentric got spawned. And today, Thoucentric is a 200-strong company making rapid strides. Archi has a bachelor's degree in engineering, I think civil engineering from IIT Kharagpur, and an MBA from IIM Lucknow. Welcome, Archi. And with that, let's keep the session open. What I'd let the panelists do is make an opening statement about the discussion topic, so the impact of digital intervention in business transformation. So I'd allow you a minute each. Why don't we begin with Sunanda? Sunanda, over to you.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity. I think it's really good to come into this kind of a forum with all of you and have this discussion. It's a topic which I'm really passionate about, and I think most of my time goes in trying to figure out what is the kind of capability to build, right? So starting from what is the kind of business value which we can give through technologies like AI, ML to the business in terms of cost, cash, speed of delivery, efficiency, and actually being creative. It's an opportunity to be creative and kind of open up new avenues of doing business modeling. So this is something I'm passionate about, and I kind of follow in and day out.
Okay, let's have Mario in. Mario, over to you.
So thank you. So thank you for the invitation. I mean, I'm very excited to be with all of you guys. I mean, in this interesting time that we're living. So digital transformation for me is something that is basic nowadays in our business. It's very exciting the way that we can use all these new technologies, all these new capabilities to look for different ways to solve our business challenges. In our company, in API, one of the main components of our digital transformation is people. So majority of our effort goes into the change management processes to make sure that our people are able to work better and be more efficient with our transformation. So part of our efforts are in make sure that this symbiosis with the new technologies, new capabilities, and our people are working efficiently. The other component that we have here is the speed. Digital transformation for us is something that we want to do as fast as we can, as everything in ABI. And for us, getting the right challenges fixed and resolved using these new capabilities are our main focus, right? There are many technologies, many things that we can do and we can use, but the focus is on making sure that we are solving the right business challenges using the right technologies. That's our focus, our interest, and our passion, and my passion specifically. In the logistics function, we want to be faster, better, and the good thing about that is that we have the capabilities now available for us to use.
Thank you, Mario. Now cluing in Anubhav.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity and having me over. I think for me, the case for change for most of our companies, right? It started about 10 to 12 years ago. Most of our companies were based around the concept of mass production, mass distribution, and mass marketing, right? That is where we really developed our core skills. And as and when the business context started to change, wherein hyper fragmentation of channel happened, hyper fragmentation of consumer needs happened, and this whole new generation saying, I want what I want, where I want, and when I want it, the case for change was very, very clear. And for us, the overall digital transformation in supply chain is exactly to handle that change from mass to personalization, right? And for me, it's not even a good to have thing. It is almost existential for companies like ours to be able to leverage digital strategies and technologies to be able to transform to the new age. So it's something I'm also very, very passionate about, because I know the future of a lot of our organizations will be dependent upon how well we are able to transform and leverage these capabilities.
Thank you, Anubhav. Moving on to Archi.
Thanks, Sid. Actually honored to be a part of this panel. I think I'll give a service provider's view to AI/ML. I think the other three members were consumers of AI/ML to improve their business. So when we started about 5 years back, we already started hearing that there is enough digitization already in place that collects data not just internally from the business, but from suppliers on one side, from consumers on the other side, from channels, and from the market. And somehow that data had to come together, and to enable decisions, there had to be some advanced analytics in place and not just what happened in the past. That kind of started taking pace really, really fast. I would say maybe around 2017, 2016, 2017, when as a service provider, if you are not augmenting your functional expertise with, deep analytics, you're probably being left behind. So as a service provider, it is absolutely necessary for us to augment our functional understanding, whichever function we want to target with our interventions, to augment that with deep analytics capability. Otherwise, the future is not for us.
Thank you, Archi. I think very interesting opening statement. So that just segues into key focus areas of business transformation. So what, according to you, are the key focus areas in your businesses where digital intervention is absolutely essential? And just to narrate your experiences. Can I begin with Sunanda?
So I think it is not in one area of business. I think the digital transformation is key across different areas of business. And one part is the AI analytics, but also the connectivity, creating a connected ecosystem, bringing IoT, all that are key enablers. So for example, some of the things that we do is right from the farmers, trying to be able to create predictive models around agriculture, then linking to our suppliers, creating that connected ecosystem, pulling all the data in from the suppliers, from the logistic providers, from the customers, consumers, creating kind of AI ML models to kind of see what we need to do, how we need to do, linking to IoT, the shop floor machines, pulling those data and using the manufacturing data to be able to kind of see how we need to change our processes. So if you look at the transformation, it is not just in one area of business, it is across the entire ecosystem that you will have all these different initiatives. And by creating a connected ecosystem and pulling the data, it's not just the internal data you play with market intelligence, which is commodity trends, oil prices, things like that. You play with your supplier information, your customer information, be able to predict what will your customers need to buy. And that then creates a value not only for us as a company, but also for the connected, for the people whom we kind of work with.
Got it. So that was an interesting perspective on connected ecosystem, right from farmers to consumers, Sunanda. So how does it pan out in the beer industry, Mario? This connected ecosystem.
Oh, that's one of our drivers. I mean, the connected ecosystem, because we're very local companies. We're a very global local company, so we're very invested in our community. We're very connected with our community. So I just wanted to add something about what Sunanda was mentioning about the focus is our focus is our consumer, right? And everything comes driven by our consumers, and the network that support our consumer is the focus of all company transformation. So we're looking also at the same things that Sunanda mentioned, as having connectivity, having the right data, having the speed data, as Anubhav was mentioning, having the speed data, the speed real-time analytics. So building of this ecosystem implies that we have to do transformations in every step of our company, every process in our company. So it means that we are migrating from a linear process company to a more integrated company, which with the visibility of the impacts of all the changes that we're doing in the process to comply with what our consumers want, because our consumers are the boss. That's one of the models of the company. So I think that one very important component is interconnectivity, is being able to extract data from our systems, from external systems, as Sunanda was mentioning, and do it in the most efficient and removing all the barriers that the legacy systems put in our digital transformation, right? So this is one of our main backbones. This is one of our main investments right now, is how are we making sure that we can get all the data that we need from our whole ecosystem in an efficient way, in a real or near real-time way, and using that information to produce our real-time analytics that will enhance our process, that will enhance the service that we're providing to our consumers, and that will enhance the products that we're providing to them.
Thank you, Mario. So Anubhav, your challenge is compounded by the fact that you deal with multitude of categories, brands, and SKUs, and there's a distinct local favor for these SKUs. How does this connected ecosystem pan out for you, and how does it pan out in your day-to-day work role?
Sure, thanks. So no, it's very similar to what Mario was mentioning. I think overall most companies are realizing that a linear value chain is no longer relevant, right? The traditional supply chain value chain, starting from supplier to manufacturing to depot to customer to it doesn't work anymore, and it has now become more of a network of networks, right? And the network now doesn't only include internal stakeholders, but also external stakeholders. And in a situation like this, I think, again, as both Sunanda and Mario mentioned, visibility of this connectedness is absolutely key. For a very long time, for example, we didn't have visibility to our suppliers, what inventory they held, what is the production they are doing. End-to-end visibility of your value chain in real time or very close to real time, which then enables you to, one, give simple visibility, which is the more descriptive and diagnostic kind of visibility. But increasingly, there is a theme coming up that we need to move up the analytics value chain and start to move towards a more predictive and prescriptive kind of analytics, and which is where a lot of AI ML actually starts to come in handy, because at least our vision is to start creating what we call as a self-driving supply chain or an automated supply chain, which is the ultimate vision we want to target.
Yeah. Thank you, Anubhav. So, Archi, Anubhav spoke of a descriptive and visibility, descriptive and diagnostic visibility. Then which is segueing into predictive and prescriptive visibility. How do you think you as a service provider are kind of are up to grab this challenge? Because that's quite a this journey has its own set of pains, and the fact, and compounded by the fact that all the different companies have different set of challenges, and obviously the same team, same professionals cannot address all. How do you foresee Thoucentric's role in this, in addressing these challenges for our clients?
So there are two themes coming out from the panel, right? So one is visibility to things that there was not visibility to before, right? How can these technologies get us visibility? That reminds me, and that's the typically IoT, RFID, what is my inventory at various places, that kind of visibility, right? That reminds me of the 2-decade-old, 3-decade-old ERP period. Where is my business? Can I sit at one place and see all the numbers? So today they're saying, can I sit at one place and see what my factory is doing? So the responsibility of IoT in emerging technologies is about giving visibility to things that our traditional systems are not giving visibility to. Whereas ML plays a role where a lot of data is already there, and there is some sort of prediction or guesswork about the future, and there are various levels of accuracy at which you have been guessing it in the past. So things about guessing how your consumers will behave. What will your sales be? What should you be ready for in terms of sales given XYZ is happening? So I think different technologies have different roles given what type of problem you're solving. But what we are seeing is customers want to see how these technologies can intervene across the value chain, across the network. And obviously the use cases and the real value in some cases are very clear. Anything that drives sales gets a very easy buy-in. Whereas visibility, at least the way we are seeing it, is more okay, let's see if visibility gives us the benefit. If it gives us the return on investment. If I spend an additional dollar to make my inventory visible of $100 worth, is it really helping me save that dollar and more? So those decisions are being taken, I think, in the visibility space as far as I see. Whereas in the ML space, where it's used a little more in the customer facing areas like sales and marketing, the selling of a concept and implementing a solution is a little easier for us because the business case becomes much more easier.
So that kind of gets me thinking. I think experimentation, that would call for a lot of experimentation and having that latitude for failure. So Unilever does a lot of experiments and and then learns from the best and then adapts those. So if I could ask Mario, what's the what kind of experimentations, I mean, do you get to do? I mean, and when you talk of experimentation, you also have to make room for failure.
Yeah.
How do you learn from those failures? What has been your experience?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Is people used to say start small, fail fast. I don't like actually the fail fast. I like the learn fast, because for me, I mean, if you do something and it doesn't work as you are expecting it to work, it doesn't mean that you fail. It means that you learn, and if you learn, you didn't fail, right? But that's just me. We do a lot of proof of concepts. We do a lot of small things. One of the good things of being in a global position is that you can have visibility of all of the things that the different zones and different business units are doing. So what we typically do is we coordinate, right? Because we have different zones with different challenges, with different needs, because we have different ways of operating in each one of them. So we coordinate and focus on making sure that the solutions and the proof of concept that are being done in one of the zones or one of the business units will be scalable going forward, right? And it comes back to the point that I was making at the beginning is we have to have a clear understanding of what is the business challenge that we want to solve using these new technologies, right? And that's where the business case will come. And that's what the sponsorship from the senior leadership will come. And that's where making these solutions to travel between different zones will go faster. So I can tell you that we're testing across the world pretty much everything with different levels of success. To be honest, I mean, I think it's not. I haven't seen a company that has been successful in all the testing all these technologies. There are ones, and I don't want to go into specific details, but there are ones that we don't see the value yet. We don't see the maturity yet for us. So we're not investing that much in those. But pretty much everything is being tested. Pretty much everything. And there are some specific cases in which escalating this have been a painful process. And there are some others that we're very proud, like one that I will mention is the blockchain that we did in partnership with Bagchi in Africa. It was very, very interesting for us and very helpful and impactful in the community. But to summarize, my point is start small, as everybody I think is doing. Then before that, you have to have the clear understanding what is the business challenge that you're solving and how these technologies will help you solve those. And learn fast. Don't fail fast, but learn fast.
Interesting. Learn fast, don't fail fast. Good tagline. Now, Sunanda, you moved from an arena where experimentation was done on a massive scale at Unilever, and now you're in a new environment. So what are the learnings that you've carried, or is it a kind of you had to unlearn a lot of things? And what was your experience?
So I think any move will have a lot of learning and unlearning, right? So I think it's a part of life and part of learn new things. So I think from an industry perspective, every organization does do a lot of experimentation, right? So even here, while in Unilever, we used to do a lot of experimentation. Even in Philip Morris, we do a lot of experimentation. And here, speed. It's all about speed. How fast can you do it? And therefore, you have to be really quick and agile and basically be disruptive in the way we deliver, not the traditional way, but kind of see if there is a different way to deliver. I think that's been one of the greatest learnings, where you try to break existing models and try to come up with new models of delivery. Also, what we have realized is that a lot of times when people try experiment, it's usually with a concept or an idea. But what exactly is the business challenge, and therefore what is the value unlock which is possible from solving for that business challenge, is usually not very clearly documented. And therefore, while you're running, you don't know what is the goalpost you're running towards. That is something consciously we have tried to do, where we've tried to inculcate value delivery as an outcome in everything that we are doing, so that as we experiment, as we try, we are able to benchmark against our goalpost and say, is it actually going in the direction we want to go, or do we need to take a course correction and do something else? So that is how we kind of innovate and steer and decide what to start, what to shut down internally.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunanda. Very interesting. So now goalposts, by their very nature, keep on shifting. Your yardsticks keep on moving. So so what, according to you, are the biggest pain points? What are the roadblocks that you face in the course of your transformation? So pain points could be in the form of people challenges, could be in the form of tech challenges, could be it could be anything. So let me clue in Anubhav.
So when we started this transformation journey a year and a half back, right? We, as a company, we wanted to both look inside and outside, and we would have visited almost 70 to 80 best-in-class companies across product categories and service categories. And the one uniform feedback we collected from across everybody was the fact, and which was really, really surprising, because when we started our journey, we assumed it was about digital and it was about technology. But after visiting these 70 companies, what was very, very evident was technology and digital would possibly be only 20 to 30% of the whole story, right? What would either make you succeed or not. 60 to 70% of the story was about leadership and your ability to change the culture of the organization towards all of this, right? Specifically for company like ours, which are not digitally native, right? So I think the biggest challenge is not the technology, is not digital. It is leadership. It is the culture of the organization and how successful we are in changing the culture towards what we want it to be. So I think that will both be the biggest enabler and the biggest roadblock if we don't get it right. Okay.
So coming to Mario, so what are the biggest challenges that you've seen, and do you think that some geos or countries are more well adapted to managing change than others? And if so, how do you kind of bring everything to a uniform platform? I know that's easier said than done.
For sure, easier said than done. Yes.
So your experience.
So challenges. I mean, I fully align with Anubhav in the way that changing the people mindset. So that's why I also mentioned change management as part of the opening. I think that change management is very important for making sure that this digital transformation will work. Leadership for sure, and sponsorship from the leadership is fundamental. On technical pieces, I will say, I mean, not every zone has the same access to the technologies, the same easy access to technology. So then there are some zones that are easier to get access to the technologies. I mean, are more cost efficient for them, and then you can drive more proof of concepts and more implementations in those zones. One other component that I think is not a challenge, it's actually a fact, is that legacy systems impose a lower speed of transformation. So when we have very tightly coupled systems, that's imposing a less speed that what you need, right? So it's making things lower than what you need. So finding out a way to decouple those legacies and to break those monolithic solutions, I have seen that as a challenge that we need to overcome. And the other thing is cultural differences, right? There are different ways of approaching changes that are, some of them are culturally driven, and again, understanding and working closely with the people, with the teams, and being transparent and open in the business challenges and the business goals that we want to achieve, which translates into over communicating what we're trying to achieve, and over communicating where we are, and over communicating when are we going to achieve what we said, issues, status, everything. We need to over communicate. So those are the challenges. I will have to go deep into each one of the zones to tell you in detail, and tell you my point of view, which shouldn't be the truth, but my point of view. But I don't think that's relevant right now. I think that every zone, every country has its own challenges, and what I will say is really encouraging and really interesting to see those transformations being executed everywhere, because everybody is looking to get our business moving to the right direction, and everybody's looking to transform the way that we're doing things.
Interesting, Mario. So, and Archi, Mario made a very interesting point. Legacy systems sort of inhibit transformation, right? And even if you look at our world, the analytics world, in much of 90s and even 20s, in the 2000s, I mean, SAS was the de facto analytics standard. For some, I mean, then one fine day came R, then kind of analytics got personalized, revolutionized, and the cost of ownership of SAS became very, very prohibitive. Today, I mean, we have adopted open source. We work on it's like we are the votaries of open source. We are Thoucentric definitely are. But having said that, we are still kind of clued into our clients. And now, Archi, how prepared are we? Is Thoucentric in kind of moving in this tech value chain, from legacy systems to which inhibits speed of execution in the current times to to a scenario where there's no digital divide, everything is kind of seamless. But having said that, even the technologies which are current, they become obsolete and legacy tomorrow. So how is the Thoucentric position to handle this challenge in our in efforts to reach out to our clients and addressing client challenges?
I guess fortunately we are very, very young compared to the other organizations represented here. So our ability to change, and given our size, I think we can quickly change directions. We have a Google map. We know that there's a red street out there. We can quickly take the other turn and quickly move, because we just have to move 200 people. I think it is not a challenge now. What will be a challenge though is how we behave as we grow, because we all want to grow, right? And yeah, I think the fact that our surrounding is changing, the fact that we are doing SAP on one side and our Python-based platforms on the other, and trying to integrate them means that at this stage we are ready. But yeah, I mean, it is easier to be ready at this stage. I think the challenge will be as and when we grow, how do we keep the momentum the same, and the inertias of rest and motion should not increase as we grow in our size, right? So that's, I guess, the challenge.
Yeah. So talking of inertia, so there are already talks going around that Python as a programming language and a de facto platform is going to be obsolete in the next 6 months. There are already talks around that. So I hope we are well geared to address that challenge as well. So we'll take our cues from Sunanda, from Mario, and from Anubhav. And believe you me, we are up for the challenge. So coming to Sunanda, I mean, so which is the area which is kind of most up for digital transformation using AI and ML in your line of sight, or in your areas of intervention?
All of them. So, if from a supply chain function perspective, with logistics, with saying, predictability of how your shipments are going to actually reach, with respect to sourcing and procurement, interaction with suppliers, interacting with farmers, being able to predict, what is the kind of yield, what is the rate, pricing, forecasting, with customers, and being able to interact better with customers. So I think across the entire value chain, there are a lot of different use cases. So we in our analytics journey, when we are actually looking at what we need to deliver, we have a huge pipeline of what is from each function, what is the kind of capabilities that they need.
Okay, and left to you, Sunanda, which area would you target first?
I would go after where the value is. So wherever we get the revenue growth, the cost, the cash, the efficiency, that's what I would then go after. So that's the reason why, rather than look at one area, we look at the value that any analytics use case will provide, and then we prioritize, because that is the only way then we can see what is the kind of value we are delivering back to the business.
Thank you. Thank you. So there are a lot of audience questions coming in. So let's kind of, let's take a few audience questions, and, I'll put it across to all the panelists. So here's a question from a gentleman who calls himself Gautam. The question goes like this: as business leaders, can you please share your view on what global organizations need to do to adapt AI/ML interventions to deliver solutions at scale, knowing the speed at which disruptions are occurring in the industry? So why don't we begin with Anubhav?
So I think the framework which Sunanda articulated was bang on. See, when we look at any transformation, and specifically digital transformation, the lens we use is to say that either it should produce disproportionate efficiency, right? Mm-hmm. Or there should be a significant change in a consumer interaction. These are the two filters we keep to say which is the area that we need to attack in terms of value being delivered, right? And once that is clear, that either it is giving me a lot of efficiency or it is making the life of my consumer or customer different disproportionately, I am sure that that is an area where I want to actually focus and start to deliver value. And to your previous question, I think traditionally where all of us start our AI ML journey is with our favorite demand sensing and machine learning based demand planning, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. Once you start to apply the efficiency lens, you can actually see across the value chain, be it a digital twin in manufacturing, or the kind of things you can do with decision automation and planning, or the kind of predictive analytics you can do for procurement. Across the board, you can leverage these technologies.
Got it. Can I pose that question to Mario? Mario.
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Okay, no problem. So there's a question from the audience. So I'll repeat it. No worries. As business leaders, can you please share your view on what global organizations need to do to adapt AI/ML interventions to deliver solutions at scale, knowing the speed at which disruptions are occurring in the industry? So that's an audience question.
Okay, so, I got the question. It's just that I lost you for 30 seconds. So I think that what I will say is if we want as global organization to become the filter of everything, I think that we're not doing the right thing. What we need to do is encourage zones and business units to start executing, and we should do a more supportive and coordinative activities to them, right? So because if we as global want to do everything for them, that's gonna take longer than what we need, right? So I will say that taking into account that I'm fully aligned with what was mentioned before. We need to be value driven, we need to be business challenge driven, and we need to have focus. I think that the best way to do it is to separate the different needs in different zones, so we can build things at the same time in parallel, and we can then just make sure that the coordination should be to make sure that we are able to make those solutions travel to different zones. I think it's a coordinating, and it's supporting, and is providing the global view of the solutions so they can be used in different zones. That will be the way I see it.
Okay, and Sunanda, may I pose the same question to you? You're on mute, Sunanda, it seems.
Yeah, thanks. I was on mute. So I think the interesting part of the question is the scale part of it, because a lot of us do a lot of POCs, experimentations, try to prove concepts, and concepts do work. But when it comes time for scale, that is when all the struggles actually begin. So, we realize that you have multitude of systems, you have to connect to each of the systems. You have, if you go in manufacturing, you'll have many factories with different generations of machines. Not everything supports what you're trying to do. You would have done IoT in the coolest factory, but in the not so cool factory, you can't enable it. So, solving for this scale, I don't think there is a magic bullet for that. I think it's like, if there is value, you kind of put your team together, say that how can you then solve for the scale in the fastest way possible, break up the problem and start churning out pieces bit by bit. That's the only way you can kind of, solve for the entire scale aspect.
Got it. Thank you. Now, so we are living in very interesting times, and we cannot but help talking about the pandemic. So, and there's a question, there are quite a few questions on how are you handling this pandemic situation in your business. So here goes the question. Do you think going forward, the companies will consider a pandemic-like situation in their prediction models? Or is this a one-time situation and there needs to be no change in modeling? I know this is technical, but at least, your overview and your experience will help. Can I clue in Anubhav, please? Yeah.
So just one thought before I answer the modeling specific question. I think one thing which this situation has given us is the speed of decision making, right? Suddenly decisions which were taking a long time to make, even big organizations have become very, very agile, looking at the situation in which the response needs to be given. With that in mind, the good thing which is coming out of the pandemic is now there is a realization that several good things have happened in the way we react to our consumer needs. And a lot of those good things we should even carry forward post the pandemic is gone, right? In the way we work, interact, take decisions, and move fast with agility. So just a thought. On the modeling specific part, absolutely. Absolutely. Because suddenly the response time reduced from month to week to day. And even the way we sense demand, in the way we respond to demand, suddenly even a week's time bucket was no longer sufficient, right? We had to manage it on a day-to-day basis. And hence there is a strong need felt saying, how can we sense demand almost on a daily basis, if not hourly basis? And once we have sensed that demand through modeling, what is the best way by which we can react in the supply chain to a demand you're sensing daily? So certainly the cycle time of decision making, there is a direct need felt in terms of how do we reduce the cycle time for both sensing and then responding accordingly. And of course, modeling becomes key to it because humanly it is not possible to either sense or respond in this time frame.
Thank you, Anubhav. So coming to Mario, Anubhav talks about speed of decision making and sensing and responding. So what has your experience been? Has the speed of decision making gone up disproportionately? And they're predictive models churning out your future numbers. Has there been a change there, or you're still using the same models for guidance? So what's your experience, Mario?
So our experience is, being global, we have the chance to see how the situation happened in China, right? And that gave us a lot of input into what we're doing as models in other places to use them as reference and as reference for our new models. What I will say is I think that we're all learning how to cope with this crisis on a daily basis. The speed definitely has changed, has increased, and I think that my point of view is that we will continue learning how to deal with this again on a daily basis, and our systems are being supportive of these changes. We have been investing a lot of time in revisiting and making sure that we are doing the best that we can to forecast and to attend the supply and demand that we have right now. So yeah, definitely it will change the way that we see our models working. Definitely we had to invest time and effort in adjusting them, and I don't see that as something that will disappear when the crisis disappears, hopefully soon. But I think that those are the new ways of working that we are adjusting and putting as part of our culture now.
Thank you, Mario. So the speed of decision making in our experience also when it comes to our customers has been astounding. So in matter of weeks, new channels have popped up. For example, let's say someone like Nivea kind of tying up with Swiggy and Zomato to deliver products would have been unheard of maybe even a month ago. But all that is happening right in front of our eyes. And with the new channels comes newer challenges of modeling these channels and the demand patterns that come from these specific channels. So the world of demand sensing is also undergoing a change. And we are up, we're kind of working day and night to kind of reduce this modeling drift. So all the modeling boundary parameters have changed. Everything is going for a change, and we are kind of coming up with parallel modeling loops, trying to address that disproportionate change. And we have been successful so far, thankfully. So Sunanda, what's the sense and response scenario at Philip Morris International? How are you going? Because the smoking is one habit that has definitely been impacted in India. Till about a week ago, the cigarette shops didn't even open, and they were available in the black market. So what's your experience been at Philip Morris?
So we are working very closely with our customers to see how best to meet it. So from a business process perspective, so this is not only just technology, right? It's also the changes that you need to do in your business processes. Working close with customers to see how can you ensure that their needs are fulfilled, with suppliers, because as a global company we have suppliers across the world, and you have the entire supply chain hit. So working very closely with suppliers, especially with devices being largely out of Asia, how then do you ensure that that is handled? So from a process perspective, there's a lot of interactions with our customers and our suppliers that we've been doing during this time to actually see how best to manage the situation. From a systems point of view, it's like all hands on deck. So whatever we need, inventory visibility reports, stocks, sales orders, whatever is required for us to figure out where is the impact and how quickly to respond to that from a systems perspective is also something that we have been doing.
Okay, thank you. And let me come to Archi. So Archi, I think we are facing the speed of decision making firsthand. A lot of the way our clients are engaging with us has also changed. It wasn't the same as it used to be even a month ago. So how is Thoucentric responding to the new set of challenges in the pandemic times?
Yeah, so I'll just allow me to take half a minute to answer your previous question, right? Can we model this?
Yeah.
You can model this in the future. The last time data was collected on events like this was probably 100 years back. So most of us have probably seen the 2000, 2001 bust, the Delhi 2008, 2009 economic crisis. Those were economic crises. A particular industry, .com, financial services, they got impacted. It did not change consumer behavior across the globe with a fear of whether I will have money tomorrow. So the way consumer behavior has changed, and even market access has changed this time globally, I think is something we have not seen in our lifetimes. Not globally, at least. Maybe some parts of the world might have seen a health crisis as big. So I don't think it was possible to factor this particular episode, in any model. But now that there is so much data getting collected, unlike before, probably if 50, 60, 100 years later something happens, people would be able to know how to react to this. Coming to our customers, I think just like with every individual and with our own company, surviving and being ready for a recovery is primary in everybody's mind. We should not cease to exist till the time this pandemic is over. And when this pandemic is over and opportunities open up, people start spending in some form or fashion. Obviously, there will be a big change, but things will come back to normal. People will start thinking about consumption and not about survival. And I think being ready for that phase is everybody's priority. So kind of innovation, improvement on what we have been doing have taken a bit of a backseat. It's about like, Sunanda is saying, and I'm sure any of you would think your business is now trying to ensure how do I get my item to the retailer so that my consumer can actually consume just like he or she was doing 2-3 months back. And we as a service provider are also waiting for that to happen so that we go back and say, okay, this is how business will be. These are the constraints. This is how we function. How can we innovate and improve, right? So yeah, business decision is totally focused right now on making sure consumption starts improving and thereby sales and sustenance goes back to the normal cycle. And we have to adjust. We have to be ready for that cycle, be ready with our expertise and our adjustment for the new way and be relevant once that change happens. And, consumption based and earning based decisions start entering into our B2B consumers space, like the Philip Morris and Unilever and AB InBev. I guess right now we have to just be patient with them, make sure we all see this through together. And yeah, when things are ready, be relevant. That's all I can tell our people.
Thank you, Archi. I mean, for me as a data scientist, that translates into dealing with additional tags, essential and non-essential, at least in India. So, SKUs or categories which were, which had smooth demand patterns once have all of a sudden become, lumpy, intermittent, and that poses additional challenges for data scientists. But we are up, we are, on our job. We'll solve it. We have solved this problem, and we'll continue to solve these challenges. So no challenges, I think, big enough for us. And we have, of course, we look forward to our client support. So with that, I mean, I come to the end of the session, and I'd request the panelists to please make the closing note or closing statements. Can I begin with Sunanda?
So I think this was a very, very useful discussion. At least what I realized is the kind of challenges and the kind of things that we face in our organization is what everybody else faces, with Mario and Anubhav, when we spoke about change management is a big thing here on how do you drive change, how do you drive adoption, how do you show, how do you transform, building talent. How do you get the right skills? Because the skills that we need in this era are slightly different from what we actually needed maybe 5 years ago. So, how do you find the right talent and build teams? So I think the challenges which we are facing are all very, very similar, but I think it's a very exciting opportunity. And if anything, COVID has taught us that, technology can actually is a must. It's a must, because if you have to survive another pandemic like this, you need to have the technology in your back pocket and need to be able to manage it. So I think that is something which I really take away from this entire discussion.
Thank you, Sunanda. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So, Mario, I mean, what would be your advice to industry leaders and as to how to navigate through this change?
Yeah. So I totally echo what Sunanda was saying. I mean, it's very interesting to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. It's good to hear that we're all in this together. My advice would be build the right team that has the dream big capabilities, which are bold, people that are bold, people that are curious. Because as Sunanda was saying, we don't have the knowledge that we need for the challenges that come from the future, that will come in the future. I think that living in these COVID times has shown us that we need to do things faster. We need to be more prepared. and we need to learn fast, right? My other point will be, don't forget about people. So think about people, because this is about people and making, helping people do their jobs better. And the other thing that I will say, which is something that I like to do, is keep it simple, right? If you're not able to explain this in a simple way for a 5-year-old kid, what you're trying to achieve, maybe you have to look again at what you're to what you're doing, right? So those will be my recommendations based on what I have seen, based on my experience. And again, thank you very much for having us here. It has been very insightful, and had a blast in this hour.
Thank you. Thank you, Mario, and it was a pleasure to have you as well. So coming to Anubhav, what's your message to the world at large, audience, industry leaders, and also students who are in this audience?
So I think two things. Being very, very specific, I think one, from this pandemic and crisis, the need for visibility in analytics. If ever there was a doubt that should be top in everybody's mind, that doubt is gone now. When this pandemic started, the sheer need for visibility across the board was so stark that every organization which is investing behind visibility and advanced analytics is absolutely in the right direction. And it took this crisis to just reinforce the point. And for all the students, there was this quote which I love from Alvin Toffler, which says, "The literate of the new world will not be somebody who can read or write. It will be somebody who can learn, unlearn, and relearn," right? And I think the new paradigm is all about unlearning and relearning. And that is a skill set that all of us must have. We need to keep unlearning and relearning new stuff.
Thank you. Very interesting. So we unlearn more than we learn. I mean, and that's important as well. So with that, let me come to Archi. Archi, what's your message to the youngsters out there who are kind of thinking or rethinking their careers? Some of them may want to build their careers with Unilever, with Philip Morris, with InBev, and Thoucentric. So what's your message to them, Archi?
I think I just have to summarize whatever the rest of the panelists were saying, right? I mean, what you know so far might not be relevant tomorrow because realities change very fast. How quickly you adapt to the new reality, I think will define, how well you start and grow in your career if you're starting right now. And don't feel bad that this crisis hit you. A lot of you are probably seeing this right at the start of your career. And let me remind you, Anubhav, Singh and myself, we saw a similar crisis when we started our careers in 2001. When it was the .com bust. I lost my job even before starting it. Anubhav, I think, worked for 2 months in I2 before he joined Unilever. So, and I think life goes on. It's happening to everybody. We are all in this together. We'll all have to unlearn. We will all have to learn again and adapt. So if you're young, it's much easier. So just hang in there. It'll pass.
Thank you, Archi. Very, very aptly put. And that was a great discussion. At least I'm left enriched. I got so many perspectives. We are different, yet we are the same. I mean, we are all in this not in this boat. We are in this ship together. I would say. So thank you very much, panelists. I mean, you've been very gracious with your time. Thanks for sparing your valuable time for for this discussion, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mario.
Thank
you, Sunanda. Thanks for having us over. Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank